Santa's watching.
And this time, he's judging with a body count.
Today, we unwrap one of the most unhinged holiday nightmares of 1980, Christmas Evil, directed by Lewis Jackson.
Trim the tree, sharpen that sleigh,
and hope that Santa doesn't snap.
This is SlashBack Cinema. Before we get going, I'm going to light my my holiday torch here.
What movie did we see where someone sharpened a candy cane and then stabbed people with it?
Oh, that was Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yes.
And so for the viewers at home, they can't see what I'm doing. I'm setting a stick on fire right now because every house needs its own torch.
Is that, why do you have a blowtorch just laying around your house? What is that about?
You know, I like blowtorches instead of lighters. So
it looks like you just lit a cigar. What is that? This
is San Paulo. It's like a stick. It's a fragrance stick. It's I burn it to.
Does it ward off demons?
Incense. It wards off demons and brings good fortune. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, our podcast could use some of that. All right. So had you ever heard of this movie, Christmas Eve? First, we should say this is one of those movies that has like 3 different titles. Did you come across that?
Yeah, I did see that. What? I didn't write down the titles. What do you got?
All right. Hang on. I didn't write them down either.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Christmas Evil is what the movie is. It was called You Better Watch Out. I think that's what the director wanted. And then it was also called Terror in Toyland.
I think all these are terrible titles, although Christmas Evil is interesting. But after watching the film, I don't know that is the best title for this film. But
I feel like what you and I have discovered, one of the many things you and I have discovered, is that if a movie rolls out and it has multiple titles, that is already a sign that something's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not a good sign.
Unless it's an Italian horror film, which then, they take it to the next level.
Yeah, something in the translation
could
get lost. But I read that the director found out that the movie title had been changed to Christmas Evil when he was watching the movie.
Wait, so what was his original intended title?
I think he liked You Better Watch Out.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But then I came across people online who had just known it as Terror in Toyland, which I don't think that is the worst of the 3.
Yeah, I agree.
A question I have for you, Ryan, is why are there so many Christmas horror movies? I mean, specifically Christmas. You don't see this many Easter horror movies. There's not that many Hanukkah horror movies. Is there something about Christmas that just lends itself to horror movies and murder?
Action International Pictures presents the gruesome holiday shocker, Elves.
Christmas Evil, the night he dropped in.
After Black Christmas, they'll never be the same again.
Did you ever find the Christmas killer?
Never got a reliable description of the man.
His name is Krampus.
Time for some season's beatings.
No one dressed as Santa Claus is safe.
You've made it through Halloween. Now try and survive Christmas.
I do have some thoughts on that. And it's really got nothing to do with Christmas, the whole Santa thing. So let's just set the record straight there. But if you do dig into the history of Santa and go back before it became this Hallmark kind of consumerist thing, I mean, it's back to Germany and Austria. We talked a little bit about this on that Krampus episode, but it is kind of bizarre. Like we're all excited about somebody breaking into our house. At the root of it is judgment on good and evil, and then you're either going to get rewarded or punished. And in the German traditions, what Krampus was beating kids with sticks. And also people that get really into Christmas, which I do like the whole thing, but like somebody that dresses up like Santa Claus, like you might be a little bit weird, like at some level of distrust, similar to maybe like clowns, although clowns for me are way worse than Santa Claus, but I don't know.
Yeah,
what's your hot take on this?
Actually, I think you're onto something. I do think that there was a darker edge to Christmas in earlier times. And when you look at like those Germanic stories, Saint Nicholas is he's got a buddy who's just a little darker in the kind of the evil version. And then even in the songs, like Santa knows if you've been bad or good. That's like one of the things I liked about this movie is I did feel like it took seriously the idea that Santa is not like a completely wholesome character for good, that he punishes the people who deserve to be punished and rewards the people that deserve to be rewarded. So before we get too far into this, you want to give us a little summary?
So Christmas Evil from 1980, we've said this before and it gets thrown out thrown around quite a bit, and I'm starting to have a different take on what slow burn actually means for these types of films. But it is definitely a slow burn, psychological holiday thriller, where this toy factory worker, he's already got some stuff going on from childhood trauma. Well, he finally snaps and decides to become Santa, and in really quite an unhinged way. It's essentially this guy manifesting Santa Claus and then meriting out gifts to the good kids and punishment to those that have been bad or perhaps wronged him as the Santa. So,
Right.
And it goes from there. So it is definitely an interesting film and not what I expected as we lined this one up to watch it.
Right. And so the main character, I thought his name was Mikey. I think because he reminded me of, his name's not Mikey. I think his name is Harry.
Terry, yeah.
But in my notes, I kept writing Mikey because when they show him as a kid is it the 40s or the 50s?
Yeah,
like in that opening scene.
Right, yeah.
I think he looks exactly like Mikey, the kid from the Life cereal.
All right, yeah.
So
didn't you hear he died, man?
What? Was it from Pop Rocks?
Oh, totally.
Note to self: don't try Pop Rocks and soda.
Yeah, that's how he
Just
died.
letting kids explode.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
So yeah, Harry, he's like traumatized by this scene at the beginning of the movie. Do we want to say anything about this scene in the beginning? How would you describe that?
It starts off very wholesome, and then I think it cuts to the kids going upstairs and going to bed. Well, the one boy wakes up, goes back downstairs, and apparently Santa's brought presents for other people in the house, including Mom. And it's like this little scene of Santa and Mom getting intimate, and well, boy, that really did a number on little Harry there. He was never quite the same after that Christmas Eve.
Harry sneaks downstairs because he thinks he hears Santa Claus, and then he sees his dad dressed as Santa and his mom, and they're in a compromising position, and that's supposed to be the explanation for why poor little Harry is traumatized. Is the dad wearing a Santa outfit because he's there to trick the kids into believing in Santa, or is this some kind of weird Santa fetish that mom has? I didn't understand why he was dressed as Santa, making out with his wife.
My take was that he had dressed up as Santa for the kids, and it was a whole thing that they did. But since this was John Waters' favorite Christmas movie, it could be a Santa fetish, and they were doing a little role play thing. Who knows?
Yeah. He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Yeah, so then it cuts to 1980, and then Harry's an adult, and he's got this like weird, it's a very uncomfortable character. He has like binoculars, and he's like spying on little kids' bedrooms. It's kind of like Hitchcock's Rear Window, but only if Santa Claus were spying on young children. And then he writes down like whether he has a book where he like literally writes down like their good and bad behaviors. There's one kid looking at Penthouse magazine, and so he's like keeping track of all their good and bad behaviors.
That kid had a long page of his naughty list, and including using profane language and looking at obscene images. So that kid's definitely getting cold or worse.
That's what I want to ask you about, because I was immediately concerned. I've never seen a horror movie. And whether this is a horror movie, we'll have to come back to. But I've never seen a horror movie that had so many young children, like under 10 years old. And I thought, is this guy going to kill these children in this movie? Because the plot seemed to revolve him just watching them on his camera. It was a little disturbing.
Yeah, a little creepy. As the story unfolds, you realize he's gotten this promotion from working the line to
Harry,
being part of management. But he's incredibly awkward and weird.
So he works at this toy factory, and then it's kind of like the Lucille Ball kind of toy factory where you just stand on the line and then toys roll past and you're quickly trying to like put together.
I guess. And I was looking at that factory and I was like, that conveyor belt was like filthy. Like I spent a lot of time of like watching the background. I'm like, wow, this place is a hot mess. And I did like read in the lore, like digging into it, that apparently it was actually a toy factory.
I mentioned earlier that I had doubts if this was even like a horror movie. I don't know. What did you think? I mean, it wasn't. I felt like I think this movie gets lumped in with like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and all of the kind of slasher movies from the early 80s and early to mid 80s. But but I'm not sure that's actually what this movie is. It actually reminded me of a super cheap version of Taxi Driver, where the main character is just like slowly losing his mind as he spies all the evil in the world.
Well, so that is what when I had reached out to Reddit r hard, just posted, hey, recommend a movie, and multiple people recommended this film. They did say it was sort of the Taxi Driver of psychological thriller / holiday horror, which so I think you're tracking with how people have thought about and considered this movie. Because, yeah, there is some murders in this, but it is not like some of the other ones we've watched that are like definitely more like gratuitous or kind of more genre typical.
So before we get into scenes, we have a feature we sometimes do, 80s Watch, where we discuss things in the movie that just really jumped out at us as being just like really clear examples from our memories or our childhoods of like what the 80s were really like.
A massive 80s party.
One of the things that jumped out at me was something you and I talked about before. There's a scene where a kid is misbehaving. The mom is trying to get him in the car.
Yeah.
And she just open hand slaps him.
Right, that's just good parenting back then. Right, yeah.
And then I don't know if you have any examples, but I had one more.
Share yours, then I'll share some of my thoughts on that.
The other thing that jumped out at me was there's a scene at the end, and we'll get to like what happens at the end of the movie, but there's a sequence in the end where a guy on the street pulls out a switchblade. Switchblades seem like a very 1970s, 1980s weapon. You don't see a lot of switchblades these days. I felt like in the 70s, in movies, maybe, I guess more than real life, switchblades were like constantly coming out. You push a little button and a knife pops out. Had you ever had any interactions with actual switchblades in your childhood?
I feel like in middle school, there was this bully that would carry a switchblade to school. And he was always threatening to like stab other kids. I think he threatened to stab me and Kevin Hughes at one point, which, you know, now you just like back in the day, you complain to your parents, there's a kid threatening to stab my child. You know, now that would be a real problem. But, you know, again, school's a little different back then.
Yeah. So, I didn't have a switchblade. What I did have is something that looked like a switchblade. And when you push the button, you push the button and a comb pops out.
Oh, yeah. Those were popular too. Yeah.
So that's how popular switchblades were. They were so popular that they were like ironic toys for kids that just looked like switchblades.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I saw that switchblade, I just thought that's we got to talk about that for a second, because that's the kind of thing you don't see anymore, but definitely is of its time.
Yeah. So this was a cusp movie. So it came out in 80, which means it was really filmed probably in like 78, 79. So it's like definitely more. And that comes across in this movie. It feels a lot more 70s to me. The one thing that was the van he was driving. So I don't know if your family had one of those. We had one of those. It was like the big Chevy Dodge Econoline vans.
Really?
They were rear wheel drive. And there's multiple scenes of him flying around in the snow-covered streets in this van. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is the most dangerous thing I'm seeing in this film. It's like, that guy's got no control. I'm like, he's going to crash this van. And sure enough, he does get stuck at one point.
That's funny. We never had a van. We did have multiple station wagons. And in the 70s and 80s, my brother and sister and I talk about this all the time. You would just throw all the kids all the way in the back in the station wagon.
Those extra weight.
Seatbelts.
Yeah, right.
And then we would all just go flying back and forth. Dad would take a sharp turn and we would all just hit one wall of the station wagon. I feel like kids today wouldn't even believe what was normal back then. Like the idea that your parents would smoke in your car and maybe roll down the window, but maybe not. Like these were not things people really.
No. They only rolled down the window to ash. And when you had your window down, like the ash would hit you in the face and you get burned. Like, yeah, that happened on a regular occasion.
But I want to emphasize, we kids loved being in the back of the station wagon. Like, what a party it was to be flown, knocked from side to side, and rolled like bowling pins in the back of the car.
Just like being in Santa's sleigh.
So, yes, nice to hear that van in the movie took you back. He also paints a sleigh on the side of it. I feel like Harry's slowly losing his mind and thinks he is Santa Claus and that this is his sleigh.
Yeah, as you watch the movie, that van shows up in multiple. He drives it to every place that he's like creating chaos and mischief, and I'm like, it's the most like quickly identifiable vehicle in the world. And he's also like murdering people with all these things that he just leaves on the ground that are like, he made it in his house. It's like got his fingerprints all over. I'm like, this guy is one sloppy ass criminal.
Okay, you say that, but one of the moments in the movie that really cracked me up was after, it might be the first murder in the movie, the news reporter comes on and like reports on the deaths, like the slaughter that just happened. And the police, they know that it's like a guy dressed as Santa Claus. And so the news reporter says something like, police say, be on the lookout for a guy dressed as Santa Claus. This is December 24th. All right, you want to talk about favorite scenes?
Yeah, I had a few. And the way they've been building it in slow burn is a good description because like it does take its time. Like when I was watching this, it's essentially the front of the church. It has been leading up to this. It's taken its time. You're watching Harry, basically his cheese starts sliding off his cracker. He's getting a little wacky. Like the thing that really sets him off is at the holiday party where they're all celebrating. They're watching a video and it's basically talking about how they're going to donate all these toys to the local kids hospital.
Oh, right. This is like his company's holiday party.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where all the toys are made. And so he watches it and then he starts asking the main owner guy like questions. And he's like, oh, you don't think we're going to really donate all those toys? That's bad for business. And essentially like the company's punting it to the employees and whatever they donate, they're going to chip in a little bit. And so, well, that was the last straw for Harry. He goes off the deep end. And so that's kind of the catalyst that sets him down this path to like start taking out other people, exacting revenge or giving gifts.
Now, does Harry go to the church to kill the two bosses in the company?
That's what I thought.
In the church?
Yeah. So like the scene opens with they're all in the church. They're having mass or whatever. And the boss of the company is there along with his wife and I'm assuming other employees. And so he pulls up in his van, bottom of the steps. It's not like he's inconspicuous. He's in full kind of Santa costume. His sleigh van's there. They all come down and like there's a few guys just like giving him crap. They are the first down the steps, like just razzing him. And you see in his backpack that he's got like this little toy that he's made. Like he was complaining about the quality of the toys in the factory. Well, he cast this one at home in a scene. And it's got the sharp, pointy stick.
It's like a little soldier with a knife,
bayonet,
right?
Yeah. And so you're kind of looking at that, watching it go down. But I will say, what unfolds is quite unexpected in terms of the speed and level of violence that unfolds. Where he's like, "I got something for you," and he reaches up, grabs that toy, and proceeds to stab out the guy's eye. And next thing you know, there's a scene of him with his Santa hatchet hacking away at everybody on the steps. Yes. And then they cut to just bodies everywhere. Like Harry really went batshit crazy in that scene. I was like, damn, Harry.
I want to emphasize to our listeners who may not have seen this movie, what you are picturing in your head is so much more clear and horrifying than what is pictured in the movie. Because the movie, they don't have budgets to show like mallets going into heads. And so it's just arm lifts up, guy on ground, arm lifts up, guy on ground. Even when he takes the little soldier guy and pokes it into someone's eye. And Ryan, we need to talk about this because is this the second or third time this has come up? Someone gets their eye poked out. I'm sure there's like a psychological name for this because you have this phobia about getting your eye poked out. Did this movie trigger your eye poke out phobia?
It happened so fast and the scene was so fast that I was definitely like, "Aye!" And then they were on top of the rest of the carnage that we just described.
But I want to like take issue with you're saying this happens fast. I don't think the speed in which it happens is the issue. I think it's the extremely unclear editing. So it's just this series of images coming out at you and they're so fast and so disconnected to each other.
Frenetic. Yeah.
Yes. That you can barely figure out what the hell is going on. So yeah, that's probably like one of the two or three scenes that is clearly like horror inspired by horror movies, but also like is like shocking, supposedly. Yeah. And that's like 45, 50 minutes in. Like you keep saying slow burn. I would say this is no burn. Like it feels like nothing is happening for the longest time. He spies on kids. He takes notes about them. Nothing ever happens with any of those kids, right? There's not a single one of those kids that ends up like part of the story. Because the story is really about him punishing his bosses for being greedy.
Yeah, it also reminded me. So I did not see some of the more recent Joker films, but sort of that kind of space where it's like it's sort of like a character study of a guy like just losing his shit, and it's a descent into madness. I thought that was good. And then there was like that scene where he brings all the toys to that children's hospital and shows up, and then so he's got a bag of toys knocking on the door, and the security guard's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, it's the middle of the night. You're a psychopath." And he's like, "I'm just bringing it." Like he's like kind of unsure of himself.
Mm-hmm.
The security guard goes back inside, and then he's standing outside, and he's like, starts saying, "Oh, Merry Christmas," and he starts singing over and over and over, and then eventually by the end, he's like loud and boisterous and kind of what you think Santa Claus would be, and then it starts snowing, and then they all come out, and then there's like this little moment of like he's manifesting Santa, and everybody's feeling the Christmas joy.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
So I thought that was there's really kind of interesting moments in the film that like it kept me engaged, but they were quite spread out.
Yes. I
through a barren landscape.
Right. Really, let's just get to it. The last 10 minutes of the movie, I feel like are the movie. Last week I said the movie that we watched, you should just skip the first 2/3 and just watch the last half hour. With this movie, you could just watch the last 10 minutes. I feel like that is the only part of the movie that is worth seeing.
I see it now. It's going to be the SlashBack edit. It'll be our re-release of all these films. And you're like, oh, that movie was 5 minutes long.
Can you imagine the time we're saving? I feel like our podcast is doing an important public service by letting people know what scenes they should watch in the movie. So he's walking around. He's got like a satchel with toys in it. And he does actually, I think, kill one of the bosses. He sneaks into the boss's house. There's a very extended sequence where he tries to go down the chimney. And he realizes you can't really go down a chimney. So that he pulls himself out of the chimney.
I like that moment too. I thought that was...
What was the point of that?
I feel like it was like a moment of the reality hitting him from this fantasy world he stepped into, and that you can't go down the friggin' chimney. Like, right. So essentially he's trying to do the Santa thing. Well, he gets in there and he's like friggin' stuck in it. At first you're like, is he taking a dump in there? Like,
yes, that's what I thought was happening. Yes.
But you could tell he's stuck. He's trying to get himself out. And then, by the time he gets out, he's like, well, okay, I guess I'm not friggin' Santa Claus. I don't have the magic.
So then he sneaks into the house, and little kids are in the house. They come out and they see Santa. He has left a bunch of presents for the kids from the toy factory he works in. But then he goes to kill their father, who is one of the evil people. And Kim really pointed out Santa's really sending mixed messages here, because the kids, it is their dad. So they are receiving presents, but aren't they also being affected by the murder of their parent in his bed?
Like, trauma breeds trauma, Shani. It's generational trauma. So, Harry's passing it on to Frank's kids here.
Right. So he kills one of the guys from work. Then he is like kind of sneaking around. And this is the sequence I'm talking about, the last 10 minutes. He's walking through the back of some like alley, and there's like 2 sets of parents and then like 4 or 5 kids. The kids are running up ahead. They see Santa Claus. The kids think it's the real Santa Claus, so they run up to him and kind of like all embrace him. And the 4 parents are just standing back, quite confident that he's a killer, but they seem to not be sure what to do about it. Like, they don't want to act too quickly because their kids are hugging a murderer, psychopath Santa Claus. That's when the guy pulls out the switchblade. And the kids are all watching this. And this movie should have spawned 20 sequels. Like, every one of these kids is now going to be in their own Christmas horror movie. Because the kids are watching their dad with a switchblade slowly walk towards Santa Claus.
Yeah, they gut him like a fish.
Then one of the little girls, who looks like the little girl in The Grinch That Stole Christmas, she runs up to her dad, pigtails. She starts like pounding on him. She's like all of 6 years old. No, Daddy, don't kill Santa Claus.
No! No, Daddy, no!
Which makes him drop his switchblade. His wife sees this and tries to intervene. He pushes his wife. I'm like, what in the hell is happening in this movie? So she hits the ground. Switchblade falls on the floor. The little girl picks it up. And I thought, oh my God, she's about to kill her own father. Where's this movie going?
Angelina, give me that knife.
No, Daddy, I won't.
Santa Claus is still watching all this. And then the Santa Claus, she brings the little girl brings the switchblade back to the Santa, not her dad. Santa grabs the switchblade and then he runs off. And then this was amazing. Instantaneously, like there's 20 adults and every one of them lights a torch. They all have torches. And now they're chasing Santa Claus through the streets of New Jersey.
Let's talk about this. Let's pause there for a second because everything you've said is completely accurate. But the fact that this is 1980s and then everyone has their Santa burning torch kit ready to go at a moment's notice. And we're talking like old school torches. So that it's like the piece of wood with like the wrapped cloth at the top with twine and they've soaked in whatever fuel and
alcohol.
Or diesel or whatever. So, and they're all lighting them up. But I'm like, who is supplying these torches to?
Well, Ryan, that's an excellent question because that speaks to our sponsor of this episode today.
Fabulous.
This episode of SlashBack Cinema is brought to you by Tony's Torch Emporium. Is a psychotic Santa roaming the streets of your neighborhood? Have you tried being nice and now it's time for naughty? Then you need to come down to Tony's Torch Emporium. At Tony's Torch Emporium, we've got torches for every occasion. Christmas torches,
Ho, ho, ho!
wedding torches, bar mitzvah torches, and baby's first christening torch. If you're carrying a torch for someone and you don't know how to say it with torches. Tony's Torch Emporium. For when you want the fire you feel on the inside to start burning on the outside. Now back to SlashBack Cinema and Christmas Evil.
We want to thank Tony's Torch Emporium for supporting SlashBack Cinema.
Well, there you go, folks. Tony's Torch Emporium. Like, clearly, that's where all these torches came from. And thanks for clearing that up, Shani. Tony's is definitely the place to go for all your torch needs.
All right, so back to the movie. All right, so this last 10 minutes, it's just like nothing in the rest of the movie. It's so crazy. So torches, they're running and chasing, and he hops in what he thinks is his sled. And Ryan, would you like to explain what happens to this van at this point in the movie?
Well, so he's like running away from the villagers who are trying to burn him. Like, it definitely like felt like it was an homage to Frankenstein, right? Yeah. And then so he gets in the van that's been stuck, and they're running towards him, and you're watching the wheels spin. And this was my big concern with rear wheel drive in the snow, but he manages to get it out, and then takes off from there. And then there's like a whole scene where he goes to visit his brother. And his brother's like, my God, what have you done? And there's this whole like, that scene was weird too. So the brother and him are having it out. The brother appears to choke him to death. And while his wife is watching, she's like, Phil, no. Now, Harry's been dragged out by Phil, thrown back in his van because he feels bad that he choked his brother to death and is trying to hide the body.
And by the way, yes, the kids seeing their dad choke Santa Claus to death, you get another 2 possible sequels right there. All right, keep going.
Yeah. Anyway, so now dead Harry's behind the steering wheel. Right. Well, then Phil's there beside the van being sad. He's like, oh God, what have I done? And then, Harry wakes up and proceeds to cold clock his brother, drive off like a maniac, head up the street, and then the villagers are coming at him, and he's like, with the torches, and it's this big showdown. And then he cuts right, hits a bridge, the van launches into the air. And I love this scene.
Okay. We need to talk about what we think happened at the next moment of this movie.
I love it. I love the ending.
Yes, I actually loved it too. But I'm very curious how you interpret the ending versus how I interpret the ending. All right. So the van drives off the bridge. And what do you see happen, Ryan?
Well, what you witness and what actually probably happened are different. So I think the whole film is shifted now completely into Harry's mind, and rather than watching the van plummet off the bridge into the icy river where he dies, he launches it into the sky past the moon, and his van becomes Santa's sleigh, and he's got a smile on his face, and Christmas music is playing, and then the movie cuts to a fade to black.
Yes, they decide to go with the ending of Grease, where the van just flies off and the sleigh painted on the side. Suddenly, it all makes sense. So you have confirmed what I thought, which was the movie did not just become a supernatural horror movie, but rather in his own head, he thinks that he flew away, but what he actually did. There's no indication that he's actually died, because you just see the van drive off the bridge and just fly off into the night. But you're saying, and this is, I think, how most people are interpreting this movie, that it's just become total fantasy at that point.
Yes, he's lost all connection to the real world. He is now Santa Claus.
Now, I like a big swing. I like a movie that takes a risk. And I thought, this movie, that is a hell of a swing.
That's a hell of a swing. Yeah.
The villagers with the torches chasing Santa Claus through the streets of Newark, New Jersey. And van flies away. That was wild. That was really quite an ending.
Yeah. Yeah. Bravo. Bravo.
Okay. So are you ready for stabby scores?
Let's bring it in. What you got, brother?
All right. Now we need to have a quick meeting.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to propose, after our first year of SlashBack Cinema, that we revisit the structure of stabby scores. And it's a pretty big deal because,
oh my God,
that means going forward, our ranking system will not apply to what we've done before. And I want to suggest that we do a stabby score out of 4 stabbies, whereas this past year, it's been at a 5 stabbies. Now, this may come as a huge surprise to listeners because we have forgotten almost every episode for the past 46 episodes to tell people what the ranking is out of.
So I feel like this is controversial, though. This is like when the local school went from grade-based to proficiency-based. So lay out what you're proposing for the format here, Shani.
So my argument is, and it comes down to my hatred of if we're doing it out of 5, I try to avoid a 3 at all times, because I feel like what we're trying to tell people is whether this movie is worth seeing. And the problem is a lot of these movies would end up a 3 because they're like, I mean, there's a couple of scenes worth seeing, but the movie's not great. And you just get this kind of mediocre score over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I just felt like the score out of 5, things are they quickly fall to the middle. And so I think like a 4 stabby scale will be helpful to listeners, because I'm saying a 1 or 2, you don't see that movie. A 3, we are recommending it. And 4, this is one of the classics of cinema. What do you think?
So
are you persuaded?
You sent me a text. I'm convinced. I like you forcing us to get sharper and not leave our audience feeling like we're serving them white toast for every episode with our reviews. What you sent over to me was, if we go through the score ranking, 1, worthless. Oh, harsh. 2, a few scenes worth recommending. 3, you had pretty good, some flaws. And 4 is great or effing great, depending on the level of emphasis on that 4 stabby score. Okay.
Right. It's this movie should be watched every year. And honored if you're getting 4 stabbies. That is our top rating.
Okay.
So what do you think? So now what I find interesting about this is that by adjusting this going forward, we should really make an effort to try to remind people what the number of stabbies is out of, so that there's some clarity here, which we have not done in our first year of podcasting.
I appreciate you forcing us to do justice to our rating system. So that's good.
Now that we have established all that,
yes,
this movie sucked. What a piece of dog shit this movie is. It made no sense. The acting sucked. The visuals sucked. The script sucked. The directing and editing sucked. I was watching the entire movie thinking, is it possible to go lower than 1? Or is 1 actually the bottom? And I was at 1 until the last 10 minutes. Because I was like, I would rewatch just the last 10 minutes. I would tell other people, go to YouTube, Google Christmas Evil, skip to 120 and just watch torches forward, or the scene actually right before the torches with the little girl and the switchblade. That I'm giving a whole stabby just for that. Therefore, this movie ends up as a 2, which means couple of scenes we're seeing.
Wow. And that's quite a pivot, because I thought you were going to roll with your 1, and I was wondering if your marriage was on the line here, and Kim was like, "You're gonna need to give this a 1, or that's it, Shawnee. No more films."
Yeah, Kim has now watched several movies in a row. I'm gonna get stabbed if she watches another terrible movie. So we
you
really
heard it
need to
here
think-
first, people. Insurance agents listening. I don't know what their life insurance policy is, but
We need to think carefully about our next movie. Is what I'm saying.
all right. So I hear everything you're saying. This movie definitely has some problems, but I will say I enjoyed, and I thought it was a very interesting take on this kind of Christmas, whether you call it a slasher or not, but like the Christmas genre, horror, slasher, psychological thriller, whatever. Interesting character study. I thought there were some really interesting moments along the way, like showing him cracking up, some of those great scenes we talked about, but it does drag. There's this, if you cut this down quite a bit, it maybe you would have a tighter film, but I'm going to bring this in at a new Stabby score system, a rating of 2, a few scenes worth watching. Yeah.
So you are agreeing then? Two stabbies.
Yeah.
I really thought you were going to go 3.
Well, before a rating system, I was going to go 3. You've rolled this out. It brings me down to a 2 because
interesting.
Yeah. So I appreciate the compression there with scores.
I feel like it's going to clarify things a little bit.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'm fascinated that we're in agreement because I didn't think that's where we were going to end up.
Knowing that John Waters is such a fan of this film, I really wanted to like it more than I did, but like it definitely, it's pretty slow.
All right. Are we ready to bring this plane in for a landing?
Let's land the plane.
That wraps up another trip down memory lane. Hopefully you enjoyed Christmas Evil from 1980 as much as we did.
If you want to support our show, tell your friends or your enemies about SlashBack Cinema. And check out our merch store at slashbackcinema.com. Every little bit helps. And we do promise not to spend it fixing up our Chevy van and the sleigh painted on the side.
And we want to hear from you. If you've got a favorite memory from the 70s or the 80s or a classic horror movie you'd like us to dissect, drop us a line at slashbackcinema.com because your suggestions, they keep the conversation alive.
Indeed. Happy holidays, folks. Put down that butcher knife. Give Torchies a call.
Yes, it's going to be okay. You've been a good boy or girl this year.
No call for you.
Right.
Maybe for me, though.